Welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Durling. This is my good friend Matt Phillips. We're recording this in Matt's home office. And today we are combining our Alice Cooper vinyl collections to show you. Neither of us have all of Alice's records. There are so many. We would have them all on CD, but not all of them on record. But what we do have, he's got some really cool vinyl. Much like Kiss in the 70s, the packaging it gave you something extra when you went and bought it. And we're going to show you what we do have and talk about each one as we go.
Mm-hmm. So the first vinyl record that we have to show is actually Alice Cooper's third record, but it's probably the one most familiar to fans as is kind of really his first record when they
His first good one.
started working with Bob Ezrin.
Yeah.
And this is Love It to Death. Now I have a Canadian version, and I don't have the actual quote-unquote band cover.
The original cover was different for two reasons. Number one, this one has a banner on it that says including their hit I'm 18, because at the time Alice Cooper was a band with a lead singer named Alice Cooper, so it's their hit. That came later after I'm 18 hit. But down here, this robe that Alice himself has on, he was poking his finger up through the robe, and if you looked at it quickly, what is that? Conservative America and Canada, I guess, too, said no, that'll never fly. So they retouched the picture, and this is a fantastic album. This is the first old Alice Cooper album I was exposed to. Matt played me the CD. I love that back cover too. That's the classic lineup of Michael Bruce, Alice Cooper, Neil Smith, Dennis Dunaway, and the late Glenn Buxton. And this is a great album. I would highly recommend, if you've only heard a few of Alice's hit songs, definitely check this one out. It's not so weird that you can't get into it. And it's a gatefold with
the eyes of Alice Cooper.
Yes, and if you look, there's another picture of the group in the pupils here. It's all black and white in this, but it works.
And the vinyl is just, I only have a plastic sleeve.
Yeah.
Very plain kind of.
Vinyl's in good shape.
Yeah.
Vinyl's
Pressed
in
in
good
for
shape.
some reason. Are they always pressed upside down like that, where you flip it over and then?
It depends. Sometimes they're sideways. I think they run them off and it's like choo-choo, 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 and then they flip it over and do it again. I don't know if that would have come with a lyric sleeve originally. It may or may not have. Neither of us have Killer on vinyl, so up next is 1972. School's Out. Of course, this album gave Alice probably his signature song. I would say that probably our versions are almost identical. This was made to look like an old school desk, and it actually opens up.
Mine says David on the bottom. Thanks for that, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. What does your vinyl look like? Mine's kind of got, this is an old Warner Brothers look. It's a sort of a greenish vinyl. I'd actually go as far as to say that your Love It to Death record is newer than this School's Out record just because of how it looks. Aha! You've got the Burbank Palm Trees label.
And don't forget David, we've got his initials. Thanks, Dave.
This has, yeah, Dave. Yeah.
D-E-K.
So this was, already we're seeing a difference now.
And
both of these are Canadians. I'm thinking this one came first, and that was probably a couple of years later.
Now mine is even the label on the other side. You have to kind of flip it over and rotate a little bit to get it lined up for side two.
We'll just show you again this has the initials carved into the desk of all of the original members. There's AC for Alice Cooper, N. Smith, Michael B, GB for Glenn Buxton, and DD for Dennis Dunaway. There's a little cat on here. It's just, I remember having a school desk like this. I never had any that opened up from the top though, mine always. I just remember having ones with a wood grain finish. Inside of this, it's made to look like a report card. And what this report card has on are the names of the songs, who wrote them and all of that, and basically the credits and how they were rated. There's a little comic here called Lovely Liberace. We'll flip this over. There's still more stuff. Box of Crayola crayons, some product placement there. I think there was more that came with this. Wasn't this the record where the record itself came in pink panties, or what looked a paper sleeve?
Yeah.
So that School's Out. As you can see already, we're extravagant packaging, no expense spared.
I'm pretty sure they actually won an award for packaging on that one, and if it wasn't that one, it was probably this record.
One we're about to show you. Between the two of us, we have three versions of Alice's. This was Alice's most successful group album. It was actually a #1 album from 1973, $Billion Babies. It was made to look like a wallet. The version that I have here, I don't know which one of these is older. I know that mine is Canadian. You can see because of the maple leaf up in the corner here. And note the rounded corners.
Yeah, the beveled kind of corner on one side, which is very cool.
Yeah, these are 3 versions we have are all slightly different. So we'll start with Matt's here.
So on the inside, we've got, of course, continuing on with the wallet theme. You've got kind of like a money clip thing, and inside the money clip
is a $1 billion bill. I'm thinking it's not legal tender. So yeah,
that's pretty neat. Photo on the band on one side, then you've got a American.
There's a lot in there if you look. I mean, there's pictures of Alice. There's there's a picture of Alice being hung.
Mm-hmm. Alice Cooper signed it on here. Very cool.
This was sort of a quasi-concept album, I believe.
Yeah.
And this version that I have here, it opens up. I don't have the money clip, or the dollar bill is missing from this. As a matter of fact, it's not even a functional. It's just cardboard. So that's different again. This version, I'll show you what the vinyl looks like. This has a single paper sleeve with all of the lyrics to the song. So this doesn't hold a record. It's just a single sleeve, rounded, beveled like the album cover itself is, and it's just a plastic sleeve for the record. This was the older Warner Brothers logo. Matt's is different again. His has the Burbank palm trees Warner Brothers logo. Vinyl's not in bad shape, and his came in a paper sleeve. I've got one more version to show you. This one is completely squared like a regular record. So this is obviously a later issue of $1 Billion Babies. Folds out. Now, it doesn't have the usable money clip, but this one does have the $1 billion bill. So I don't know if this is a combination of 2 or 3 different versions of it. Now we see what is in here. Okay, this is different again because instead of a single paper sleeve that looks like this is actually the record sleeve. On the other side of it is a picture of the band holding a baby and some rabbits and like tons of stacks of cash here. And the record itself is, I think this is an even newer version on Warner Brothers records. So, interesting. It makes sense that it had more pressings because it was a successful album. Probably the rarest Alice vinyl I have. I came upon this probably about 5 years ago in Bangor, Maine at an antique store. And Matt has a copy of it too. This was Muscle of Love. This was the final Alice Cooper group new album that came out. This came out in late 1973. Like back then, rock bands released an album a year, sometimes 2. So you never really had to wait that long. This is literally cardboard. Like this is heavy. This is heavy box board. You can see the title written along the side. So I guess that's the sleeve. Attention! This carton contains 1 Alice Cooper Muscle of Love. And its back cover opens up really weird. I have to try to be very gentle with this. I haven't looked in this too many times, but this opens up. There's nothing on the other side of this, but this has pictures of the group as sort of like Navy, like sailor outfits, and I got that upside down. No, I don't. Well, some of it's upside down. The picture's upside down to the credits. Yeah, this was the last Alice Cooper group album. And also, we're getting to more, it looks more like a conventional album. Here's a picture of the guys looking. Okay, I think this is supposed to be the before picture. They're going into this Institute of Nude Wrestling. And this is the morning after, or the aftermath of their escapades. And this record has the Burbank Warner Brothers, as does Matt's. This album was not as successful, and as a result probably didn't have as many printings. Thank you to Howard Anderson for selling me this record inadvertently and writing your name in blue marker on the record itself. So that's Muscle of Love. That's very, very rare. The next thing to come out, the final piece of product to come out from the original Alice Cooper group, is Alice Cooper's greatest hits. So we'll show you that it's the front and back covers. I believe our versions are pretty similar. This is a pretty popular of the old Alice albums. You see this one a lot. The front artwork on here is pretty cool. It's done by a guy named Drew Sturgeon, who does a lot of movie posters. If you can picture what the original Raiders of the Lost Ark poster looks like, it's the same guy. And there are cool little references, and another thing I love about vinyl, why I do this episode, there are references to songs. There's an 18 on the door here. The newspapers, the headline says "School's Out." There's a $1 Billion Babies logo up here. I don't know if there are any more references there. I think that maybe they missed an opportunity because they could have had somebody under the wheels of this car, but it's just my opinion. And on the inside, yeah, there's another drawing of the picture of the group. They've got their instruments. Alice has like an old style microphone.
Oh, I never noticed this before. These are all like, there's Marilyn Monroe and...
Okay, yeah. So is this supposed to be somebody here? That looks
I'm sure that it almost looks
is that like a Marx brother there?
Yeah.
This cover here, this almost reminds me of that photo that's in The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got all the song titles here. This is like a business card. Big Al's Garage and Speakeasy. Repairs daily, dancing nightly. And it lists the band members as the staff.
There's Ethel, for Cold Ethel.
Which hadn't even, that's interesting because that hadn't even come out yet. Wow. So, vinyl itself, which end does the vinyl come out? Alright, this is a pretty standard Warner Brothers logo.
Same thing.
Yeah, ours, for once, I think we pretty much have the same record. This was the last Alice Cooper group project. The first Alice Cooper solo album is a classic, 1975, Welcome to My Nightmare. This was a big album. This had Welcome to My Nightmare. Yeah. Only Women Bleed was a big hit off of this album. He made a movie, well not a movie, but a home video based on this. There was a concert video done. Vincent Price appears on The Black Widow 7 years before Michael Jackson got the same idea to use his unique voice, and even predates the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. The version I have here, this is a Canadian version. I'm not sure. Yeah, now Matt's is a Canadian version, but if you look around the bottom, it's different. So one of these is older than the other, and I don't know which is which. So what's odd about Welcome to My Nightmare is that Alice's albums from Love It to Death all the way up to Donna were on Warner Brothers albums. Welcome to My Nightmare is on Atlantic. This is the only album he did on Atlantic Records. I've never really been sure why, even though the companies are affiliated. So inside is... yeah, so there's a picture of Alice in his top hat, some lyrics, and on the other side...
Somebody crossed out your spider.
The rest of the lyrics. Yeah, somebody had a phobia of spiders. I think my girlfriend might have gotten at this. Let's see what this... So this being on Atlantic, this has the red and green Atlantic logo. Let's see, yeah, Matt's looks the same.
Side two.
So,
sideways for some reason. Again, you flip it over and rotate it.
Yeah, so great album, great artwork, very cool artwork. Matt's got a few here that I don't have. The next album to come out in 1976, I like this album a lot. This is Alice Cooper Goes to Hell. And that picture, while he kind of shows you the back cover, I'm going to show you where that picture comes from. Bear with me here while I search.
Use the back cover. Again, he's still working with Bob Ezrin, producer.
That album, that picture is from the inside of $1 Billion Babies. They just took it and took all the detail out of it. And I don't have time, I'm not going to spend time looking for where it comes from. So it's actually an old picture. Very kind of creepy, to be honest with you, which kind of fits.
I love this record. This record itself is in really rough shape, so I doubt the vinyl's even really...
Paper sleeve and the Burbank.
And the Burbank logo.
Yeah.
Rotated.
I'm fascinated with the issues of record labels, how they decided when to change, when they didn't. And the next one is, again, another one that Matt has and I don't. This is Lace and Whiskey. Cool concept, not really that great an album, my opinion. This came out in 1977. The whole concept is like a detective, it's made to look like a detective novel, and Alice was trying to get away from the sort of the horror character. And I believe he called himself Maurice Escargot. That was his. It was a short-lived phase in his career. Alice is getting into a very interesting phase in his career. So he's like the gumshoe, like an old-timey detective that drank, and which is sadly true to life for Alice. Yeah, and this album had a big hit single on it called You and Me, which is about as mellow as he ever got. And probably you've heard it before and had no idea it was Alice Cooper a la Beth and Kiss. Next, he did a live album, The Alice Cooper Show. Neither of us have that on vinyl. 1978, his next album is called From the Inside, which actually had some really cool vinyl that folds out. Neither of us have it. So next up, we're in 1980, and it says so right on the cover. This is Flush the Fashion. Alice is in another unique period musically.
This is kind of like the beginning of his sort of what you might consider his lost period.
Yeah.
Lost.
This is a new wavy sounding album. I happen to like it a lot. It's quirky, and it's Alice did this himself, I've always read, and I think he really wanted to prove that he was doing something different. That's why it says Alice Cooper 80 here.
You have the Canadian version.
Yeah, mine's a Canadian version. Look at the back. Look how different Alice looks here. It's actually one of the scarier pictures of Alice, and yet it's a quote-unquote normal picture. Yeah, mine's Canadian. You can tell by the maple leaf up here. This had a minor hit single on it called Clones, which if you heard it and didn't know, you might not even know it was Alice. Another picture of him with the riding crop. Don't know what that was about, but... And, of course, it wouldn't be Alice without a little bit of blood. Credits, lyrics to all the songs. Even if you don't like the album, you can check it out. I think it clocks in at less than half an hour long. It's a very short album. Our records look very, very different. They both have the same Warner Brothers logo, but the print's different. And this album was actually, if you're a Queen fan, this album was actually produced by Roy Thomas Baker. It was the only one that he produced. Let's Flush the Fashion. Next up, 1981. Now Alice Cooper is in sort of a military soldier of fortune phase. Thus, we get Special Forces. This copy that I have, it looks shiny. It's because it's unopened. It's a cutout copy that I bought, and yeah, this came out in 1981. He's got like a military look. What's interesting about this is there's the credits here in the lyrics or the song titles. The last title listed on here is called "Look at You Over There Ripping the Sawdust from My Teddy Bear." It's a song that does not appear on this album and would not appear until 1999 when Rhino Records released the excellent Alice Cooper box set, The Life and Crimes of Alice Cooper. There's a demo version of that song, but it must have been puzzling. People must have been thinking, am I missing a song? But they weren't. That kind of illustrates where Alice's head was at, I think, at that point. And here's another one. 1982. This is Zipper Catches Skin. And Matt's got this on vinyl. I don't. I like this album. This is another Bob Ezrin production. This is really unique because what this is, that's a funny picture of Alice there.
He looks so gaunt at this point.
Yeah, he was in really, really rough shape. That picture actually makes him look better than he actually was.
Go back to the album cover.
Yeah, this actually has all the lyrics to the songs from the album. And up here in red, it spells out Alice Cooper. I don't know if you could see that. And right at the point where it says Zipper Catches Skin, there's a little bit of, looks like blood. And that line is from a song called I'd Better Be Good. So, yeah, you really have to be in the right kind of mood to listen and appreciate these early 80s albums. Typical Warner Brothers. Yeah. And it gets weirder yet. The final album that Alice did for Warner Brothers and the final one before he took a little hiatus, 1983, this is Dada. This is based on a painting by, I believe, Salvador Dali, called The Disappearing Bust of Voltaire. But if you look away, there's a face there. It's Alice's face because it's got his makeup on it. Very similar to what Def Leppard would do with Retroactive album, where there's actually a skull pictured. Yeah, that looks like a younger picture of Alice, like from when he was in his early teens. And I don't know who this old man is. This is another Canadian edition. Mm-hmm. The lyrics are all written on the back in this sort of calligraphy. This was a Bob Ezrin production, and I don't think Bob Ezrin was in very good shape. This album basically was a contractual obligation release, and I think it tanked as soon as it came out. That's a typical Warner Brothers logo, label, sorry. Except the way that Dada's written is a little bit unique. So after that, Alice got clean. As far as I know, he's been clean ever since. And then he came back in 86 and 87 with a pair of albums for MCA Records, Constrictor and Raise Your Fist and Yell, neither of which we have on vinyl. His big comeback, and where he came on the radar of a lot of people our age, was in one of the greatest years, in my opinion, in music, 1989. He released Trash, and I'll let Matt talk about this album because he was into it from the beginning.
Well, every single song on here was really well thought out, and the album was produced by Desmond Child. Of course, you'd know him from working with bands
Bon Jovi, Kiss, Aerosmith. He was the song doctor, one of the song doctors of choice of the late 80s. He knew how to take a heavier rock band and make them sound good on the radio, catchier hooks, poppier hooks if you like, and that's what he did with Alice, and it paid off big time.
Quite cool.
So by now Alice is on this album, Epic Records, CBS Records. That's the usual Epic logo at the time. This was a successful album, big comeback album for Alice. The song Poison was a top 10 hit, one of his biggest songs and a staple of his live set to this very day. And we're getting into territory that you don't see on vinyl very much. And 89-90 was sort of the retail cutoff for vinyl albums in stores. So if you see anything beyond that that's not an import, you've got a very rare album. And 1991 saw the release of Hey Stupid.
I love this record as well. It continues kind of on with the same sort of theme as the Trash record. He's got quite a few co-writes on here. Bands like Bon Jovi and Aerosmith and Guns N' Roses, you're going to see those guys on these records.
Yeah, Nikki Sixx, Mick Mars co-write a song on here. And more Desmond Child, Jim Valance. He's got a million guest stars. I mean, on the song Hey Stupid, he's got Ozzy, he's got Slash, Joe Satriani. He's got Steve Vai and Joe Satriani, I think, on Feed My Frankenstein. Unfortunately, it wasn't as successful as Trash. I personally think it's a better album. It's just a fantastic album, and it's really cool to see it on vinyl. And that shows you the vinyl itself. What happened with vinyl as it went along? I believe it got thinner. Like it was less, smaller gram vinyl, but still very cool. And that is a U.S. version. That's not an import, which is something that you don't see very often.
So certainly someone of our age would not have been buying vinyl at this point when this came out.
Not very much, no. It's that's what makes it so cool. And that's my earlier episode where I went through like the Cinderella and the Poison and the Tesla albums. That was kind of my point, is that I think a lot of those albums originally sold on cassette and or CD. So that's all of the Alice Cooper vinyl. I'm wearing a shirt that's got the cover to Alice's 2000 album, Brutal Planet, which is the point in which Matt kind of introduced me to Alice's music. I always liked a few of his songs, but we actually had the pleasure of seeing Alice on that tour. Great tour, a great album, and he had a fantastic band, not least of which was someone who had played with him previously, Eric Singer. If you're a Kiss fan, you know that name, but Eric actually played with Alice on part of the Hey Stupid tour. Matt and I had the pleasure of running into Eric Singer outside the State Theater in Portland, Maine, which is where the concert was, and he signed each of our ticket stubs. I don't have mine with me, but that's Matt's.
That's the CD, and it's pretty cool.
Which is also the closest, the only time we ever met a member of Kiss, so that's doubly cool. His drumming with Alice is great, but the odd thing is that we wanted to talk to him about Kiss, but we didn't know if it was a sore subject at that point, because Kiss were on their farewell tour, and Peter Criss was still with them, but not a few months later, we see file photos of Eric Singer wearing the Catman makeup. So, as it turns out, we might have been able to talk to him about it. But we're talking about Alice, so Alice has a lot more albums than that. We may add to our collections. His newer albums are available on vinyl, but we wanted to show you what we had. So thank you for watching this edition of Tim's Vinyl Confessions.